Well, hello there, and welcome to the last day in July 2025. That would be Thursday, the 31st. I am Delbridge, Benchmark Realty, Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and this is your status chat. You know, I'm a little bummed today, but what I'm not is surprised, and we'll talk about it on the other side of this. If you like this content, please go to CallDelToSell.com, find the tab that says on YouTube, click it, and it'll open up a page of QR codes. There you can use a smartphone to scan and get to the YouTube page, or you can just mouse over and click it on a PC. There you'll be able to subscribe to this little button over here and click the notification bell so that YouTube will notify you. Thank you. Well, as we expected, as you and I expected, if you follow me, Powell remained petty and partisan and petulant, and a little prepubescent in his attitude, if you want to keep the P's coming. All right, let's look at this right here. This is from Forbes. Not exactly a hard right-leaning publication. I think they do tend to be in the middle-ish, as much as you can expect in today's environment. So we're going to bring this down. Breaking Business is by Ty Roche. For staff, Ty Roche is a breaking news reporter based in New York City, maybe Manhattan, where the business district is. Published yesterday, right? Because today's the 31st. Published yesterday, and it says, the Fed decides against interest rate cut, but Powell, this is what I want you to pay attention to, that's not being spoken in great detail, but Powell faces first double dissent in decades, right? That means that he's got at least two people on the committee, FOMC, voting against him. And we had one that was missing, so I think she was going to vote. I don't know, but I expect that she would have voted with the two, but didn't want to, didn't want to poke the bear, and it wasn't going to pass anyway. Powell was going to get his way. And so that's pure speculation on my part. So she just didn't want to vote against the crew. All right, so we know about it. Since the 1990s, the Federal Reserve on Wednesday opted to keep interest rates at their current level despite pressure from President Donald Trump, as two of the members' agents' policymaker panel cast the first pair of dissenting votes since the 1990s. We see the specific date in the bullet point below. Key facts. All right. The FOMC voted 9-2 in favor of holding interest rates between 4.25% and 4.5%, a range maintained by the Fed since December 24, with the federal governor Adriana Kruger absent from the vote. Now, if we did it in December, and we're 7 now, pretty well much, that's more than a half a year that we haven't budged interest. And I guess that's okay. I mean, at some point you said higher for longer, but we also said that, we weren't going to drop rates until we got to 2% target. That's what we were going to do. But let's go back to our center panel and let's look at our next bullet point. The FOMC reiterated its goal for inflation to settle at 2% and said in a statement, uncertainty about the economic outlook remains elevated. Well, I don't know if it's about inflation. It's lower than it was when they cut it a full percentage point in Q4 of last year. The federal governors, Bowman and Waller, who have signaled support for easing interest rates in recent weeks, voted against holding interest rates at the current level and called for a quarter point, marking the first double Fed board dissent since 1993. Okay, let me break down why this is important, because we were hearing before this, the Fed pivots, the Fed pivoted when it stopped raising rates. Right, now we've been this way for more than half a year, and now we've got it after they cut it a full percentage point 3 times right before the election, and now inflation's coming down, and we heard about, the sky is falling with the tariffs, but they're coming in line. We've got good bonus to trade imbalances coming in line. Things to me look pretty good, and I think the people are coming off of the scare tactics that's been fed them. All right, maybe I'm wrong. We'll look at consumer confidence here in just a second. But when we go back to this, we still have their team members going for the negative. Morgan Stanley, in a note last week, suggested Fed Chair Jerome Powell would emphasize patience in a decision not to lower rates and pointed to considerable uncertainty. How many flipping times are we going to hear about uncertainty and about Trump's tariffs when they have pretty well much proven that they didn't do what anybody said that they thought it would do? It didn't cause inflation. It didn't cause anything more than more money coming to the United States and these smaller countries kind of getting in line and being a little bit more fair with us. So let's go ahead and look at some consumer confidence. Let's look at the University of Michigan. Surveyors of Consumers, University of Michigan. It's going to be a little bit of a mixed bag. We're coming off of some pretty dark times, but it's going to be good, I think, overall. Here we are at July of 25 compared to June, July of the previous year, and of course the change month over month and change year over year. So index of consumer sentiment is 61.8. That's up from June. It's still down a little bit from last year. Current economic situation, 66.8. That's up from last month. A little bit up even from a year ago. And we have consumer expectation. This is the one that took a little bit of a hit. 58.6 from 58.1. That's up. That's not terrible much. It's pretty close to being steady, but it's up a little bit, where we see the loss from last year ago. Now, we can read some of this, but I'm going to go ahead and give you this little and these three little bits in your description on the Stats Chat if you want to look for it, because if we go to the next one, consumer confidence, this one's a little bit longer over at the consumer, the conference board of the here, and we're looking for U.S. consumer confidence inched up in July, just like the Michigan said. The latest release was day before yesterday. Right, Conference Board Consumer Confidence Index improved by 2 points to 97.2, 1985 being 100 from 95.2, so that's up. That's 2.2. The Situation Index went the other direction, and it fell by 1.5 points to 131.5. The Expectations Index, yet another one, based upon consumers' short-term outlook for income, business, and labor market conditions, rose by a pretty good bit, 4.5% to 74.4, but expectations remain below the threshold of 80. That typically signals a recession ahead for the sixth consecutive month. The cutoff date for preliminary results were July 20th. So this is still 10 days old when they were taking the data. So we're going to look at this little graph right here. Consumer Confidence Index. Looks like we did dip. We're coming back up. Are we where were we basically somewhere back here in 2014? The last time we were above where we used to be in 2020 and 2021. Yeah, we got a little bit higher in 2022. But what it does, it shows that we are certainly nowhere near our recessionary era down here in consumer confidence. Around 2008, it was down to about 80. So we're above that. We're doing good. I think we're doing good. Hello, I'm Delbridge of Benchmark Realty, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. If you are currently unrepresented and would like to know how to compare up to 3 properties side by side and room by room, then go over to my new YouTube channel, CallDelToSell. That's 1 L and Del, no spaces. Watch the demo on Real Scout and then call me and we'll set up your exclusive ad-free account today. What do you say we get these numbers and get up on out of here? All right, last week, 7/24 of 25, we had 28,529 in the opportunities. That rose over the previous period. We had 4608 in the under contract still showing. That rose in the previous period, but yet the ratio remained steady for the third week in a row as of last week. What do we got this week? 7/31/25. We have 28,704, which rose yet again in the opportunity. So inventory is looking like it's coming up a little bit. And our under contract still showing, got to 4485. That's slightly down from last week in the under contract still showing, and yet the ratio remained at the integer level at 16%. So yeah, we're still pretty much business as usual, chugging along, but we've got a double descent against Chairman Powell's petulant ways, which I think if we get our mortgage people on board with thinking, yeah, he can't hold out much longer, they may try to be the leaders in getting the next deals booked. So we're that close. We're that close to having that 1/4%. And it's the first 1/4% cut that means the most, because that means they pivoted. They finally broke and they finally pivoted. And that's what's significant about it. And I think when we see that pivot, we're going to see a lot more consumer confidence. That's why I want to look at where we are. It's already raising up a little bit, but it's not all the way there because, like I said, the CME Fed Watch tool didn't expect the rates to be cut. I didn't expect it to. Powell did exactly what I expected to. So I'm not disappointed and I'm not surprised. Really, a little bit disappointed, but I'm not surprised at all. See you next week.